In this video, I'll be showing you how to make your first game in GDevelop. The first thing you want to do is create an empty project. You can name it whatever you want, and then click Create Game. Now that we're in the scene, you're going to want to go up here and make sure you have Show Grid turned on, and whatever tile set you're using, check the size of it and set up the grid. So the tile set I'm using is 16 by 16. I'm just going to take my stuff from the asset store so that I don't need to make anything. GDevelop has an awesome asset store full of tons of sprites. So add a player, add an enemy, and then for your walls, you want to make a new object and make sure it's a tiled sprite, and then choose your file, or you can make it with pistol. Then we'll change this to 16 by 16. And the reason we want it 16 by 16 is because it fits the grid perfectly, and you want a tiled sprite so that it kind of duplicates it, because if you make it a sprite, it'll just stretch it out like that. So then we need to add the platformer character behavior to the player, and to the walls or the floor we need to add the platform behavior. And if we preview the game, that makes it so that we can walk and run on the platform. But as you can see, the camera doesn't follow the player. Like, this is all the area we have. So we need to go to the events and add new event, and then search up camera, and then do center camera on an object and select the player. So now the camera will follow the player. But the player is also super small, so we can also search up camera again and do camera zoom. So we'll do 0. Oh no, we want 2 times. And then it zooms the camera in so that the player's way closer. Now that we have all this working, you see when I go right and left, the character doesn't change, and he's just always moving even when I'm stopped. So we'll work on animations now. We want to add the condition is moving and select the platform state one, and then select our player and do is moving, and we have to check the animations on him. So his idle animation is 0. So we want to invert this condition and say if he's not moving, change the animation by number of the player and change it to 0. And then we want to duplicate this and invert the condition, so if he is moving, change the animation to 1, which is his running animation. So now if you see, if we stand still, he's doing that, and then if we move, he runs. But he's still not flipping. If we move back and forth, he's just moving, or he's facing the same direction. So we want to add key pressed. If the key pressed is left, then flip the object horizontally. Duplicate that and do key right. Do flip yes and flip no. So now he walks the correct way each time we move side to side. Now we have the animations working and him walking back and forth, so we can add the enemy. For me, I have a skeleton. I'm just going to add him to the scene, and I'll flip him so he's facing the player. And we'll make it so that if the player is in collision with the enemy, then it changes the scene back to the start. So it just restarts the scene. So if we stand on him, you see it just restarts. Now that we have the enemies, we want to add some coins for something for you to collect. So go to the asset store, grab a coin model. We'll use this one. And then drag it into the scene. place it wherever you want. Go to global variable and add a new one. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call mine coins, and then leave the rest and click apply. Then go back to your events and add a collision. If the player is in collision with the coin, trigger once and do variable, change the variable value of coins, add 1. Now, if we touch that coin, it'll just keep adding our score up, but we have no way of seeing how many coins we have. So I'll add a new object, and we'll make it a text. You can name this whatever you want. Cool. Coins text, and then you can put whatever you want on here. And then pick a font if you want. And then we'll resize it to maybe 60, and then we'll drag this on the screen. So if we preview this, you'll see that you can't even see it. It's just nowhere to be seen. So we need to add a layer. You can name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name my GUI. And then you click on this and change the layer to GUI. So now if we start it, you can see that it stays on screen. But if we collect the coin, it doesn't do anything yet. So we need to go here and do delete, and then delete the coin when it's in collision. Okay, then search up text and do coin text, and then write global variable string, and then brackets, and put in the brackets whatever your thing is called. Mine's coins. And then the text will display when we collide with the coin how many coins you've collected. Now that we have the coin system working, we'll make it so the enemies can move, because right now they can only just stand still. So we need to add new object and make 2 different sprites. Make move left. You can make this however you want. I'm just going to do some black squares. And then duplicate it and do move right. And then drag those onto the scene. So the enemy will walk into this and then turn around and walk into this. So however far apart you have these is how far the enemy will walk. If you want it to walk close together or far together, you can just move those. So I'm going to have them like that. And then we'll go to the events and do beginning of scene, hide, move right and left, so that you can't see them when the game starts. And then we'll do move, or no, we'll do force, add a force to skeleton, and then we want on the X so they move back and forth, and we'll do, let's try 100, and we'll do permanent force, do 0 on the Y, and then collision with skeleton, move left. And we want minus 100 and move right, and then we want positive 100, and then add beginning of scene, add this one. Okay, that is way too fast. I'm gonna make this maybe 40. And then this one negative 40. Now you can see the enemy moves back and forth in between that spot, but same problem with the character, it's only facing one way. So we want to add the flip horizontally, flip the skeleton, and then we'll duplicate that. We'll just try this. That's backwards. Okay, there we go. Now we have an enemy that walks back and forth, and you have to try and dodge. But the ones that were placed over here will just move infinitely, because you have to make sure that you put these here. When you're placing these, you need to make sure you have the move left on the left side. Otherwise, he'll move backwards, and then the move right on the right side. To add a background, just add a new object. Search up background, or you can make your own. I'm just gonna take one. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna take one. I'll use maybe this one. And so when you add a background, you'll see that it might be over top of everything. So then you can't see your map. So you need to change the Z order and make sure it's lower than everything else. So we'll just make it -50 so we know it's behind everything. If you enjoyed, consider watching the next video in the series that is up on screen now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. This is part 2 to the platformers tutorial for GDevelop. In this video, I'll show you how to make barriers, jump through platforms, and main menu and loot screens. This is the second video in the series on how to make a platformer in GDevelop. In this video, we'll be going over new platform types, barriers, and main menus, and loot screens. So, first, we have a problem here. You can just fall off the map and you're gone forever. So, if you want to make gaps in the map, like this, where you can jump across, so we want to add a new object. Just get like a wall or something. I'm just going to grab this, add it to the scene, and then just put it in the scene wherever you want. It's basically just going to be a barrier, kind of like the enemies. It'll just reset the scene. So we can duplicate this and change it to in collision with whatever you picked. Restart. So now if we fall down, it restarts the scene. You can also hide that if you want. Just duplicate this and then change it to that so that it's hidden now. We also have the problem that you can just run off here. So we're going to want to block that off. So if you want, you can just do this. So there's now a wall there. Or you can set the Z order to behind the background. So that there's an invisible wall there now. So you can't get any further. To make it look better, you can extend this. So you just can't get any further. You have to go this way. Now, for new platform types, you can add a new platform. I'm going to add these little platforms. Ideally, you make the platform not a sprite and make it a tiled sprite so that you can drag it, because this is just going to stretch. But for me, I'll just duplicate it along. But we want to add the behavior platform, and there's different types of platforms. So I'll make this a jump through platform, and it basically does what the name is. You're able to jump through it. So if you see, we jump through it and then we can land on it. For start screens and loot screens, we want to go up to the 3 lines here and add a new scene. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine main menu, and then make another one called loot screen, and click the 3 dots on whatever scene you want to start the game and do set as start scene, so that if you ever upload this game to like Steam or GD games, the main menu will be the scene that starts the game. So now click on it and open this up and add new object. I'm just going to use a button that's pre-made. Use this one. Has lots of good buttons in it. They have animations pre-made. Just gonna pick this blue one, add to the scene, and drag it in. You can resize it, make it however you want. Put whatever you want on it. I'm gonna put play. So now we have a play button. but it's not actually gonna work. I mean, like, you can hover over it and click it, but it won't do anything. So you need to do cursor. Cursor's on an object, blue button, and then do mouse button press or touch held, and do left. Doesn't really matter. And then drag it so it's under it, and do change the scene to your game scene. So this is just checking if the cursor's on the button, and then you click on it, then it'll change the scene. So it works. You can do whatever else you want. You can add some text, add a background, and there, we have our main menu. So now, when we lose, all it's doing is just restarting the scene. So we need to make it so that it actually changes to the lose screen. Then we'll go here, and do if the skeleton is in collision with the knight or the player, you pick this one, and just change this scene to the lose screen. So now if we collide with it, it brings you to the lose screen. But if you're at the lose screen, then you're just stuck there. We'll open up the lose screen and add the button again. Then we'll drag it in. You can make this say whatever you want. Let's make mine say main menu. And then you can just go to your main menu and copy this and then paste it in there and change the untitled scene to main menu. So you can make it go to your main menu. If you want, you can duplicate this, make another one, and make this restart. And then duplicate this, change this to blue button 2, then make it change your scene to untitled scene, or your game scene. So then you can restart the game if you want, or you can go back to menu. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching the next one in the series by clicking the video on screen now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Welcome back to the third video in the series on how to make your first game in GDevelop. In this video, we'll be going over to how to play sound effects, music, make ladder platforms, and multiple levels. First thing we're going to do is add sound effects. To add a sound effect, you go to the events, and we can just copy and paste this into here and change for whatever you want. I'm going to do the skeleton, so the enemy. When the enemy is in collision with the player, then we go to the action and search up play a sound. And you can create a sound effects with JFXR, which is a built-in sound effect thing we have. So I'm just going to do... And so you can just customize these as much as you want, make it sound different. So I'm just going to use this. And then you can change the volume. So I'll set the volume to maybe 30. And now we have that. So if we start the game, it'll play the sound. 30 is a little bit quiet, so I'm just going to make it a little bit louder. Now for a song throughout the level. We need the at beginning of scene, so I'll just copy and paste that. And then do play a sound. And then you can choose one. JFXR doesn't really make songs, so you'll have to get one. I got mine off Pixabay for free. Once you have that added, maybe make it a little bit quieter than the sound effects, so you can hear the sound effects over it. And then at the beginning of the scene, it'll play it, and we want this to loop, so that if the song ends, it'll keep playing. So now we have a working song, level, and when we collide with that, it plays the death sound. The next thing we'll be adding is a ladder object. Once you have your sprite added into the scene, double click on it, and add a behavior. Then we'll add the platform behavior and click the drop down and select ladder. Now if we preview, if we walk up to this, we can hold the up arrow and go up the ladder. Now, as you can see, we have to hold it, and if we let go, we just fall down. So if you don't want that to happen, then just duplicate your jump through platform and put it like near the top of the ladder, and then change Z order to something that's behind everything. And now, when you go up the ladder, you stay there. Okay, now to add a new level, we need to add a new object. And do whatever you want, so when you collide with this object, it'll start the new level. So I'm just gonna grab this, and drag it into scene. And so we'll go to events and add the collision, so we can copy and paste this, and do collision for the player and whatever your end object is. Once you have this, go to the 3 lines and duplicate your game scene, and then add an action and do change the scene and change it to your second game scene. So now if we reach the end of the level, it changes the scene. So now you can open up the scene and edit it, make it look different, put platforms around the place, put this. It'll change to the next level. That'll be all for this tutorial series. If you'd like to see other things, then let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.